This is Generation Stadia, giving you that daily dose of everything and anything Stadia related, and today we have some news to cover. Today's topics include Stadia Gen 2 ray tracing support, some major updates coming to the Stadia platform, and some rumored Ubisoft games that have yet to be announced. But first, let's talk about a recent development that's been noted within the VR community that yes, can possibly affect Stadia. I also need to give a quick shout out to Almighty Dino, who's a part of our Gen S community Discord, who tipped me off to this article. If you want to join that Discord, the link will be in the description below and the pinned comment of this video. Now back to the news. Upload VR is reporting that Google has figured out how to stream 6DoF video over the internet, and this is a big deal. In case you're wondering what 6DoF means, it stands for 6 degrees of freedom. It allows you to move your head in a 3D space and everything reacts as it's supposed to. A good example of this would be you leaning your head forward to get a closer look at an object in front of you. Without 6 degrees of freedom, you would be moving your head forward and the object wouldn't be getting any closer. This causes a very abrupt and immediate disconnect between you and your immersive experience. But what does this have to do with Stadia? Well, the truth is right now, not much. But it definitely will be a part of the bigger picture at the end of the day. To me, the holy grail for VR is a cloud gaming solution. Being able to stream an immersive VR experience directly to a headset would enable the headset itself to be so much more comfortable. The perfect example of this is the recent prototype released by Facebook's VR division. It honestly looks like a pair of sunglasses, and that makes VR so much more accessible and less of a pain to actually use. And the problem here is that there isn't enough onboard space for dedicated hardware to provide a compelling experience. But a streaming service like Stadia can alleviate that issue big time. Now, I do want to point out that the current research being discussed in this article revolves around real-time capture through multiple camera setups. On top of that, it also requires a 300 megabit connection, which is way more than is okay for the general public. But I do have a feeling this will become more accessible in the future, and the research will affect video game streaming as well. Either way, if you're interested in this, be sure to check out the full article. It'll be linked in the description, as it is pretty fascinating stuff. But now let's talk about some major Stadia updates that seem to be in the works for the platform. All of the following information is coming from 9to5google.com's APK Insight. This is where they data mine the newest Stadia app update and try and dig for any news or information that may be coming soon. And it appears that there are some major things in the works. First up is being able to play on mobile data. Yes, you heard that right. Soon enough, you won't be needing a connection directly to a Wi-Fi point or an Ethernet cable to play Stadia. Just from using the mobile data available on your phone, you'll be able to launch straight into a AAA experience no matter where you are. This is a major deal for anyone who wants to game on the go and not be tethered to a single location. That level of freedom just hasn't existed on Stadia as of yet, but I'm glad it's coming. Sadly, this doesn't mean too much for people like myself who still have a data cap on their phone line, and yes, you will quickly blow through it streaming a game. That being said, I'm super excited for all of you out there with no data caps on your plans because you'll be able to game on the go no matter where you are, and I think that's a fantastic premise. The next major platform update has to do with family sharing. Now, this is a long-awaited feature, and it's one that was discussed way back when Stadia was first coming out, but it's starting to look more and more like it's just about ready to start launching. There's a ton of references now regarding this feature, including the restrictions on shared games. The most notable in that regard being that each game can be played by one family member at a time. Now, this shouldn't be too surprising, but I noticed some people have been a bit disappointed to hear that, but ultimately I think it makes sense. Other important things to note in this section is that you'll be able to pick and choose which games you actually want to share with your family members. This is certainly a great addition for families out there with younger children who shouldn't be playing certain types of games. Now, the last thing they were able to dig up info on is much more of a smaller feature, but it's a pleasant one, and that's Stadia Pro Games notifications. As you can probably already tell, basically you'll get notifications of when new Stadia Pro games are out for you to claim and enjoy. But now let's move over to some very exciting info, and this time it's coming from the dynamic duo over at Stadiacast. All of this info came from their latest podcast episode, which I'll link in the description below if you want to check out. It appears they have some insider info and they've talked with a developer about Stadia Gen 2. This isn't the first time they've brought this up. In fact, they've been in contact with said developer about Stadia Gen 2 a while back. You may remember that I covered it in a previous news video. But this time around, they were able to talk and find out that yes, ray tracing is in the works. So not only is this developer they're in contact with confirming the fact that they're already working with Gen 2 kits, but that it supports ray tracing, and this is massive. One of the biggest talking points for next-gen systems since their announcement has been the inclusion of ray tracing support, and I was a bit curious as to how Stadia would do that with their current server blades. Yes, there is software-based ray tracing, but I still think there's a huge difference between having hardware dedicated for that specific purpose compared to the rest. Either way, if what Stadiacast Insider is saying is true, then there's gonna be some fantastic looking games coming our way. But once again, to be perfectly clear on this topic, until we hear it from Google themselves, this is just rumor and speculation. There's only so much trust that you can put in insider information, and if it proves to be false, Stadiacast isn't at fault here. That's just kind of the way this type of thing goes. But at the very least, it does make for an exciting discussion. As we all know, there's been tons of rumors about Gen 2, especially with the whole Cyberpunk delay and Dirt 5 as well. It does have me questioning whether or not there's a bit more truth to those stories than I initially thought. It would be absolutely insane if the Gen 2 server blades are already in developers' hands and we'll be seeing examples of them through Cyberpunk 2077 and Dirt 5. I'd have to imagine that if these development kits are actually out in the wild, only the biggest names and developers would have access to them at this point. And both Codemasters and CD Projekt Red seem like developer names big enough for this sort of thing. But that's enough speculation. Like I said, this is me being extremely hopeful. Don't take this as confirmation whatsoever. But I am curious to see if we hear anything about Stadia server blade upgrades this upcoming Stadia Connect. But now it's time we move over to the last story of the day, and it's also pretty exciting because it revolves around some unannounced games from Ubisoft. To be clear, neither of the games have been officially announced and neither is confirmed coming for Stadia. But I'm talking about it today due to Ubisoft's commitment to the platform. If these games do exist, I think there's a strong chance that they will show up on Google Stadia. Either way, let's get right to these rumors, beginning with Far Cry 6, which appears to be returning to a tropical setting. Not only that, but based on everything that's been shared around, it seems to be aiming for a Narcos-style atmosphere. This will definitely be a nice departure from the last two Far Cry games that have been set in America. Apart from that, it's supposed to launch sometime next February. Now, the stuff I'm talking about here is mainly coming from Game Reactor. It's a Danish site that apparently leaked quite a few games that were announced at the digital E3 events going on right now, so there is some credibility to their story. Honestly speaking, even if they are taking a guess here, I think it's a pretty safe bet that we'll be seeing Far Cry 6 at Ubisoft Forward, their digital E3 replacement event on July 12th. Furthermore, according to an industry insider, the game will have jetpacks, it will be about helping zoos, and yes, there will be co-op. These things sound a bit more out there, so I'm not 100% sure they'll actually be true. But knowing the franchise, I wouldn't put it past them either. They've already involved animals numerous times in the past entries, and co-op is pretty much a given. Either way, it'll be interesting to see if any of this comes true. And now let's talk about the next rumored game. And I really shouldn't say rumored because it's pretty much confirmed, but I'll talk about that in just a sec. This is a new IP coming from the developers over at Ubisoft Montreal, best known for Assassin's Creed and Rainbow Six, and it's titled Hyperscape. This is going to be a free-to-play battle royale first-person shooter set in a futuristic virtual world for both PC and consoles, with the PC launch coming first and consoles second. And yes, it is supposed to feature crossplay. What you're seeing on the screen appears to be a screenshot from the game, and everything after it will just be some concept art that apparently belongs to it. And it's not supposed to be very long before we start seeing more about the game. In fact, we should be seeing gameplay this week. Apparently, large streamers and big YouTube content creators have already had hands-on with the game, and we're gonna start seeing a media rollout with the full game launching July 12th. That is supposed to be the release date for the PC version only, by the way. There's no confirmation of whether or not this is coming to Stadia, and if it does, whether or not it will launch alongside PC. The game is supposed to have heavy integration with Twitch and allow the viewing audience to actually affect the gameplay. There's not much else known besides this, but it does make me question whether the YouTube live stream will also have that sort of benefit, or if it's exclusive to Twitch. Personally, I'm excited to see what this game brings to the table. The Battle Royale genre is starting to become a very flooded market, and I'm surprised Ubisoft's even trying to enter it. The live streaming functionality also reminds me of Stadia quite a bit, so I'm hoping that they're actually going to be integrating it into YouTube live streaming as well. I seriously hope it comes to Stadia as well with that crossplay functionality, since I definitely consider myself to be more of a multiplayer type of guy and I want to play some competitive shooters. On a personal note, PUBG just isn't my type of battle royale, and it's probably my least favorite one out of the bunch. But let me know what you think of both of these games and which one you would be excited for most. Either way, that covers all the Stadia news I have for you today. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out, and if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. Today's end of video message is going to be about our Discord community. As you can tell at the very beginning, I gave a shout out to someone who tipped me off to an article I haven't read yet, and if you want to share anything you find on the internet, feel free to do so. I'll be shouting out anyone who shows me something I haven't discovered yet and plan on putting in a video, so if you have any tips, feel free to let me know. The Discord link will be in the description below and the pinned comment of this video. As always, thank you for watching. This has been Generation Stadia, giving you that daily dose of everything and anything Stadia related. The Gen S community is over 4,500 strong and growing by the day, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.